My name is Ted. I am 28 male. I always loved movies and wanted to be part of them. It was my dream job. I worked hard and got myself trained in the art of editing movies. After months of struggling, I finally got a chance to work on a small, independent movie project. I was the assistant editor, which means I had to put the movie together with my boss. While working on that project, I met the person who would become my future wife, Kathy, who was then just 21-year-old. She was also working as an extra in the movie, doing something different from me. We spent a lot of time together because of our work. We talked about the movie and other things. Over time, we started to like each other more. Our shared love for movies and our hard work on the project brought us closer. The late nights working on the movie turned into late-night talks about life. We fell in love while making the movie. The movie was like the backdrop to our love story. We planned a small, intimate wedding ceremony with just close family and friends. It was a simple but beautiful celebration of our love. The decision to marry quickly was a reflection of the deep connection we shared and our desire to start this new chapter of our lives together. Once we were married, Kathy made a heartfelt decision to become a stay-at-home wife. She wanted to focus on creating a loving and nurturing home for us. It was a decision she made out of love, and I wholeheartedly supported her in this choice. Kathy's dedication to being a stay-at-home wife meant that she could take care of our home, make it a warm and welcoming place, and support me in my demanding job as a cinema editor. Her decision allowed me to concentrate on my career, knowing that I had her unwavering support at home. One day, while visiting me at the studio where I worked as a cinema editor, Kathy had a chance encounter with a director. We will call him Al. He was smitten by Kathy's beauty and started complimenting her and even asked her to come for an audition for his next big project and gave her his card. I knew Al for a long time and knew how he used to prey on young and upcoming actresses. This was a common practice in the movie business. When I met Kathy, she informed me that Al asked her to come for audition and she has turned it down and how she knew he was a bad man. That gave me some respite. As time went by, I began to notice a change in Kathy's style and appearance. She started dressing more provocatively and wearing heavier makeup. It was a shift that caught my attention and made me wonder about the reasons behind it. There were times when I noticed that Kathy wasn't at home when I came back from work. I would call her to check where she was, but there were instances when she didn't answer her phone. Instead, I received a text message from her saying that she was out with friends. This became a recurring pattern. I would patiently wait for her to come back, sometimes until midnight or later. As the hours passed, I grew increasingly worried about her safety. I'd send her more text messages, expressing my concern and asking her to let me know when she was on her way back. The uncertainty and waiting were often stressful and unsettling. When she eventually returned home, it was evident that she had been drinking. She was drunk and her behavior was different from the Kathy I knew. Her slurred speech and unsteady movements were a stark contrast to her usual self. It was during these moments that I began to feel a growing sense of concern about her well-being. The next day, after Kathy had returned home in a drunken state, I couldn't help but express my concerns. I asked her, "What's been going on, Kathy?" Her behavior had been changing and I was worried about her. Kathy looked at me with a mixture of sadness and frustration. She explained that she had been feeling unfulfilled and bored with her current life. She missed the excitement and the challenge of her acting career, and she wanted to resume her work as an actress. As she shared her feelings with me, it became clear that her longing for her previous career was the reason behind her late nights, partying with friends and altered appearance. She missed the thrill of acting and the creative fulfillment it provided. It was a difficult conversation, but it was important for us to understand each other's perspectives and find a way to move forward. Reluctantly, I agreed to support Kathy's decision to resume her career as an actress. I understood the passion she had for her work, and I wanted to see her happy and fulfilled. However, As we discussed her return to the movie industry, I couldn't help but express my concerns. I reminded Kathy that the movie industry could be a challenging and, at times, a difficult place. I cautioned her about the presence of individuals who might try to take advantage of her, given her talent and beauty. I wanted her to be cautious and to prioritize her safety and well-being above all else. While I had reservations, I also made it clear that I would be there for her, supporting her in any way I could. She eagerly started looking for gigs, hoping to find a role that would reignite her career. It didn't take long for her to stumble upon an audition opportunity for a new role. To my surprise, it was with Al, and I was taken aback when I realized that she bagged the role in just one audition. Surprisingly, fate seemed to have more in store for us. I found myself drawn into the same movie project as an editor. So, the movie stared its shooting phase, and I used to take Kathy with me to the studio. While I was not always present on the sets, however, I did sometimes visit her on the sets. During one such visit, I couldn't help but overhear a conversation on the sets that the director of the movie, Al, had been spending a lot of time with Kathy in the green room and seemed to be getting overly close to her. I did not pay attention. However, on the sets, I did see Kathy in front of the camera. What saw did not go down very well with me. During the shots, Al appeared to take full advantage of Kathy and was touching her inappropriately under the guise of explaining the shot. My concern and unease began to grow as I observed these interactions. After the shoot was over, I went up to meet Kathy and Al, who were talking in a corner. While Al did not react a lot, but Kathy seemed to be a bit shaken by my presence. Al told me that I am a lucky man to have Kathy as my wife. He complimented her beauty and went on how she looked stunning on the camera. I was getting uneasy. Then, crossing all limits, he mentioned how he loved her figure and how amazing her proportions and curves were. I felt like I would punch him right there, however, I somehow held back and smiled. Then I left for home with Kathy. While returning home, I told Kathy how I was not happy with the way Al was touching her. She shrugged off and stated that I was just jealous and I should not think a lot on that. It is common for directors to touch the actors to explain how certain scenes are to be done. I thought maybe she is right. I am making a big deal of it. After a week, she approached me with a request that took me by surprise. She asked me not to pick her up from the movie shoots, explaining that it was essential for her image in the media. She expressed her concern that being seen as a married woman in the media could potentially impact the way her character was perceived in the movie. The role she was playing required the audience to believe in her character's single status, and her worry was that the public might not fully immerse themselves in the story if they knew she was married in real life. It was a difficult decision for me to accept, as I had always been there to support her and ensure her safety and well-being. However, I understood the professional considerations of her request and the importance of maintaining the integrity of the character she portrayed on screen. With a heavy heart, I agreed to respect her wishes, even though it meant keeping my distance during her work on the film. However, I had a feeling that something was not going well. In a few days, I did start getting hushed rumors that Kathy and Al are having an affair. I know that such rumors do make their way in every movie set, so I did not pay a lot of attention and did not ask Kathy about it. However, one day, while I was on the movie set working on my editing duties, I overheard a conversation between two technicians. They were talking about Kathy and the director, and their words revealed something that left me deeply troubled. They were discussing the affair between Kathy and the director. They discussed how one of them saw Al feeling Kathy in the green room. He also stated that they left for the nearby motel for a quick action. They both laughed, and one of them said, "Isn't she married?" The other one said, "Married or not, she is being drilled hard by the director." Their words hit me like a ton of bricks. I almost fainted and quickly made way to the washroom and put my head under a tap. I had to know what is happening as I still could not believe what the tow technician said. Later that night, I waited for Kathy. She arrived around 11 p.m. that night, and it seemed like she was heavily drunk. I asked her about her condition, and she said they had a party post the shoot and she drank a bit too much. I asked how she came home, to which she informed that Al was kind enough to drop her in his limo. My mind just imagined what all could have happened in the back seat of that limo. She could not stand properly, and I took her to the bedroom and tried to change her clothes. While and undressed her, I saw small marks on her chest that are usually caused during an intimate encounter. I saw more such marks on the inside of the thighs. I was horrified and disgusted. My initial feelings were violent and wanted to hurt Kathy in ways that she cannot imagine. My beloved wife was cheating on me and I wanted revenge. I somehow controlled my rage and I decided to dress her up and walk out of the room. The entire night I could not sleep, and at times I almost rushed back to the room to try and harm her. In the morning, Kathy woke up and I confronted her about the marks. She said that she filmed an action sequence for the movie and got the marks due to the injuries that she sustained during that. I knew that she was working in a drama, not an action movie. I somehow controlled myself and walked out of the house. I did not want to see her. I did not know how I would react if I get close to her. I reached my studio and met my two dearest friends, Jay and Ned. All three of us work together and have known each other from the time we started our careers. I told them what I saw and what has happened. Both of them grew angry but also warned me of any reckless actions. I told them I wanted revenge and wanted their help. That evening, all three of us met at Ned's place and discussed how to approach our plans. Our plan was simple: to expose both my cheating wife and Al. Ned was an expert with audio recording and Jay was with video. We decided to film my wife and Al in the act and expose them. We bought some equipment that we needed for our big expose. Over the period of next few weeks, we carefully covered the green room, and after bribing Al's driver, we even managed to rig the limo. We started to shadow Kathy, and Al post the shoot to see where they went and what they did. Their every move was being filmed and they did not have any idea. I had some intuitions as the action could also be happening at my home, so we also covered some parts of my house. Kathy had no idea that she was being filmed even at her own home. After 2 months, the shoot was over and Kathy was spending more time at home. The film had entered post-production. The editing was my responsibility, and while editing I realized that it had no real story. The acting absolutely sucked and the movie was a sure flop. After the post-production, we did have a screening of the movie for the producers and they were not very optimistic, but still wanted to go ahead with the release. I was waiting for the same. You see, I had created 2 versions of the movie, one the actual one and the other one with the explicit footage that we shot with our equipment. I must say that once my version hits the theater, I might get a job as an editor in the more explicit movie industry. The problem was now to get our version to hit the big premiere. We figured out that distributing the movie was the job of Steve, a close aide of the producer. The poor man was cheated on by his wife and she later took away his house as well. We decided to play our cards with Steve and took him out for a drink with us before he sends the actual movie to the screens. During the round, we figured out that his ex-wife was cheating with Al, as Steve absolutely hated Al for ruining his marriage and his life. So I eventually told him about my wife's cheating and what we have done after that. He did not even blink an eye and was quick to say yes. He quickly took us to the office and sent our version to all the intended person. Finally, D-Day arrived. It was the premiere of the movie, and just as I expected, Kathy went on the red carpet with Al. They proudly walked hand in hand towards the screen with the paparazzi clicking their pictures. 10 minutes into the movie, the character played by Kathy was supposed to be emotionally upset and was to be consoled by the lead actor. Al was good till that exact moment. The lead actors were embracing each other. The scene led to a green room scene where Al was all over Kathy. Everyone in the theater had shocked and were even more shocked when the scene moved to the action in the limo. There were explicit moves, explicit dialogues of encouragement, and we had edited the background music to match the action. Kathy panicked and ran out of the theater and rushed back home, only to find her belongings nicely packed outside the house. As she stood outside the house crying, a man approached her and handed her an envelope, asked to sign the receiving, and left. Divorce papers had been handed to her, and she was asked to contact my lawyer in case she wanted to contact me. She kept calling me all night, and I did not answer. Me, Ned, Jay, and Steve were already at the bar and enjoying our drinks. All three of us were threatened by Al that he will sue us. We shot back stating that it was you who wanted to shoot this version of the movie, which you wanted to call the director's cut. Actually, he did say that in one of his sessions with my wife. We explained that we are just backstage technicians and we work as we are told. Since the situation was getting a lot of media attention, Al decided backed off and left town. Few days later, I met Kathy at the court and our divorce was settled. There was a lot of media outside the court who wanted to talk to Kathy. I somehow slipped from them unnoticed. I never asked Kathy why she cheated on me. I did not care and did not want to ever see her again. A few days later, the producer of the movie called all four of us to his office. There was a long silence, and suddenly he stood up and said, "It was a damn good movie.